ठीक है प्रियंका, we start in 5 seconds.
Namaste and greetings. I, Priyanka Negi, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, Prabhav Evam Niti Anusandhan Sansthan, Nai Delhi, extend my warmest welcome to you all to IMPRI Web Policy Learning. We are gathered here for the final day of the EPAYF Environment Policy in Action Youth Fellowship. We welcome everyone to this immersive journey into impactful environmental policy in action. The chair for the program is Ms. Bhargavi S. Raoji, independent researcher and educator, environment activist, Bengaluru, and visiting senior fellow at IMPRI. Our expert panel for the program yesterday were Dr. Jyoti Parekh and Mr. T.K. Arunji. And so far, we've had a great panel of experts with us throughout this cohort. The conveners for this course are Dr. Mansi Bal Bhargavji, Ms. Suhasini Ayerji, Professor Utpal Kumar Devji, Dr. Simi Mehtaji, and Dr. Arjun Kumarji. Proceeding further, we welcome everyone to this transformative journey and appreciate your dedication in investing your time, energy, and commitment to gaining a profound understanding of the crucial role and intricate details of environmental policy and action. We've also shared the course outline and reading resources in your email for your kind perusal. Before we start today's session, I'd like to state the housekeeping announcements. Please join the meeting on time. There will be a Q&A session after each presentation. All for today, we will be having a feedback session by the chair. You can share your questions regarding each presentation in the Q&A box, or you can also raise your hand. And please refrain from making general comments in the question so we can save some time. Now, for today's session, we have the, two presentations lined up. If we can have the participants raise their hand, then we can have the first presentation. It will then be followed up by the feedback from the chair. We had Oshanaka Bhadji and Antariksha Chatterjee ji yesterday. We couldn't finish their presentation, so we'll just be waiting a couple of minutes for them to join, and we'll start shortly. In the meanwhile, while we're waiting, we have received a recorded presentation by Shabuni Deji. If I have ma'am's permission, I can present that first while we wait for the other participants to join.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Shabuni Deji is ex-political consultant at IPAC, diploma student in GGS IIJL Delhi. I will now be presenting her presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today I am excited to present on the topic Green Energy Initiatives Navigating Policy and Ecological Sustainability. I am Shravani Dey, a diploma student at IIJL Delhi, specializing in GGS, Governance and Government Studies. So while I was doing my master's in chemistry with a special focus on material science research, I worked on green energy materials. And very recently, my diploma at IIJL gave me the chance to explore India's commitment towards UN Sustainable Development Goal 2030. And that's how I got into this topic. So without wasting time, I'll be moving towards the agenda list. This is the list of the things that we'll be presenting today throughout. If I talk about green energy policies, these are crucial in the fight against climate change, as you already know. They not only reduce greenhouse gas emissions but also promote sustainable energy resources. So in this review, I will explore the role of renewable energy policies in addressing climate change, highlighting their impact on ecological resilience, social equity, and further promoting environmental justice. It will also cover various aspects of renewable energy policies, such as uh, government incentives, financing mechanisms, community initiatives. Then we'll be having some case studies, including some global examples. So if we talk about the importance of renewable energy policies, importance of renewable energy policies. Renewable energy policies play a pivotal role in reducing our reliance on fossil fuels mainly, and mitigating climate change impacts, obviously. So they promote the adoption of the renewable energy resources such as solar, wind, then hydroelectric power, etc. For example, we'll be having a case study of Germany's Renewable Energy Act in this section. And I am going through some more papers, so we'll be having some more case studies in this section to discuss the importance of renewable energy policies. When we talk about policy implementation, so government incentives and regulatory support is very important. Government incentives such as tax credits, subsidies. Japan recently introduced feed-in tariffs. So these are crucial, making renewable energy projects financially viable. These incentives not only encourage investments, but also it promotes the more and more. It encourages the innovation in the renewable energy sector. And if we talk about regulatory support, including renewable portfolio standards, it basically ensures a mandated percentage of energy comes from renewable sources, which further accelerates the adoption. So we'll be seeing public PPP models, which are essential for scaling up renewable energy projects. We'll be seeing some example of United Kingdom's offshore wind farm, then USA Solar City's solar leasing model. So actually, collaboration between government and private sector entities, it leverages the resources and expertise in both ways. So we'll be discussing on that. We'll be having some more case studies, not only these two, three. I'm planning to have some two, three more. In terms of if we think about how innovative, how the energy policies will be implemented, we need innovative financing mechanisms. So, like green bonds, carbon pricing, all these things attract investment and overcome the financial barriers in renewable energy projects. So, green bonds fund projects with environmental benefits, while carbon pricing will be having a example also, like case study of Sweden. And carbon pricing incentivize emissions reduction and the transition to cleaner energy resources. So that thing we'll be discussing, and we'll be having some chart showing the impact of carbon pricing on emissions, and benefits and examples also will be discussed as well. Community-driven initiatives will be discussed, will be under in the review also. So community-driven incentives empower local residents to participate more and more in renewable energy projects, so that the energy access gets enhanced, and it creates green jobs and fosters environmental stewardship. We'll be having some example like Denmark's offshore wind farm, and I'm looking for some more community-driven initiatives example, especially in India. So we'll be adding that too. If we talk about challenges of land intensive renewable energy projects, so that is often require significant land use. So that is the main challenge because it impacts local communities as well as natural habitats. So we'll be having some case studies like in Brazil, Belo Monte Dam, and from California, we'll be having the wind farm example. So those case studies, I'm also thinking here to add 2, 3 more case studies to look into it more in a more detailed way. Uh, we'll be having some global examples of policy reforms. So let's say Italy's national energy strategy or Japan's feed-in tariff system, as I said already, Chile's renewable energy auctions, and South Korea's Green New Deal, etc. These reforms have actually increased the renewable energy adoption and reduced carbon emissions, and thus it has successfully fostered economic growth. And these lessons will offer it actually offers India's own green energy transition. So we'll be looking into this, and we'll be looking into World Economic Forum's 5-year plan, which they tabled in 2023, said that China and major energy consumers will be making significant strides, and the renewable energy capacity is expected to reach almost 710 gigawatt by 2028. So we'll be looking into that. In conclusion, we can say that green energy policies are essentials for achieving a resilient future, and mm, we will be so there is a need to call to action for policymakers and stakeholders to engage more and more in the discussion of such renewable energy policies and strategic management of land usage, and then making some excellent innovative financing mechanisms, engaging more and more communities so that we can advance towards United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 7 specifically, which is affordable and clean energy. I have written some slogans, all came from my mind all of a sudden, and I have written it: empower, sustain, renew in energizing policy for a greener tomorrow. And then I have written empowering communities, energizing economies. So uh, such slogans are there. I will be adding some 2, 3 more maybe. Uh, at the end, I'll be saying that let us work together to create robust and inclusive green energy policies that resonate with the urgency of environmental action and drive transformative change. So, thank you for your attention, and I welcome any suggestions that you may have. Thank you.
So that was Shabuni DG's presentation submission to us. Following this, do we have Antariksha Ji here now?
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. If you're ready, you can start with your presentation. Please do make sure that you introduce yourself first.
Yes.
All right.
Is my screen sharing?
Not yet.
Is my screen visible?
No, not yet. Are you clicking on the share button, the green button?
Yes. I don't know why is it inactive, my share button.
All right. So I'll be sending you.
Oh, okay, okay. I guess it started now.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Antariksha Chatterjee. I am a student of Jadavpur University pursuing my bachelor's in history. The topic which I have chosen for my presentation is local cultural practices and ecological preservation. Across the length and breadth of the Indian subcontinent, religious traditions and local practices have preserved an estimated 100,000 to 150,000 sacred groves, nurtured by an ethos of revering the Mother Earth, who is the source of all nourishment, which is deeply ingrained in the concept of the indigenous populations that has ensured the protection of the land's flora and fauna. The study of this symbiotic relationship will help us in deciphering practical and sustainable approaches to meet the sustainable development goals. In front, we have a shlok from the Matsya Puran which states, a pond equals 10 wells, a reservoir equals 10 ponds, a sun equals 10 reservoirs, and a tree equals 10 suns. From this very shlok, we can understand how the ancient texts and the people from that time revered the mother nature and considered preserving her as an utmost responsibility. Similarly, the Puranic texts have replete with references as how they exalted the position of trees and the natural elements to that of God Himself, which was nothing but a way to make the people understand the importance of these natural resources and their protection. Also, in the Buddhist texts, Lord Buddha himself says and lays down rules in the Sutta Nipat stating forbidding the pollution of rivers, ponds, and wells, etc. Also, in the Jaina text, Ahimsa, which is the fundamental tenet of the Jain way of life, they ask their followers to be benevolent towards all living creatures, which also entails all the existing creatures and the elements of the environment. The traditions that have evolved in accordance to the regional environment which culminate the ancient wisdom are best suited to tackle the crisis of the present generation, decreasing our carbon footprints. Instead of exploiting natural resources to exhaustion and then focus on balancing it, we must motivate ourselves to live in harmony with the nature, protecting the biodiversity of the habitats also home to many endangered species. Sustainability has always been intrinsic to Indian philosophy and values, and tracing back to them will ensure ecological protection. We can also see how various sacred myths and taboos have originated, which had no other purpose but to make this thing very clear to the common public and made it accessible to them that how their participation is very important and how these divine narrative was created around this whole thing so that people are much more respectful towards the elements of nature. As we can see now, how people treat these things, though they are very religiously respected, but still they don't take care of it. So articulating various kinds of myths made the people responsible for the things which they were using. Like tree worshipping has been an integral part of the local practices. These have given rise to construction of various sacred groves. Sacred groves were the biodiversity hotspots supporting a wide variety of plants and animal species. These groves provided undisturbed habitat for many native and rare species, fostering their survival and propagation. They were also the natural gene banks to various indigenous plant species, which are already very vulnerable to extinction. And since they were located near areas of springs, rivers, or streams, they also led to water conservation and soil protection. They helped in mitigating the carbon footprints, also regulating the also helping in regulate the climatic conditions of that particular region. The presence of trees and vegetation influence temperature and humidity levels, providing a cooler and more comfortable environment. Sacred groves were often associated with traditional ecological knowledge passed down through generations. Sacred groves were protected and managed by local communities. People considered it moral and spiritual responsibility to safeguard these areas, leading to a collective commitment to ecological preservation. eco-friendly rituals and festivals. Harvest festivals like Makar Sankranti, Pongal, and Baisakhi were celebrated to express gratitude to Mother Nature for their bountiful harvest. These festivals encouraged sustainable agricultural practices and honored the symbiotic relationship between farmers and the land. Yajnas or Vedic fire rituals were performed to invoke the blessings of the deities and maintain ecological balance. There are a number of festival ceremonies, customs, rituals observed to honor and worship Earth, the primordial mother goddess. Like the Raja Parva of Odisha, which is celebrated in the month of Jaishtha. Here, Mother Earth is treated with respect incense offer menstruating women where men and women avoid touching the earth by refraining from walking barefoot, digging, plowing, and even cooking on earthen chulas. A tradition similar to this is the Ambubachi festival of Assam, Theyyam of Kerala, which worships the sacred groves and the ancestral spirits whom they consider are represented in their plants and the trees which they nurture as their ancestors. Like the Garba festival of Gujarat, where the pot which they place centrally is treated as the Amba Mata, which teaches the people to respect water and Mother Earth. Like the Alher Puja of Jharkhand and other rituals, the tribals already practice a very animistic kind of religion where they associate mountains, earths, and forests with various deities and similarly revere and protect them. Similar is the cult of the Bonobibi worship of Sundarbans, West Bengal, where they also help in preserving the natural flora and fauna, even if it is out of the fear of any supernatural power. In India, there is also a custom called Bhumi Puja, which is performed before constructing any structure on the earth. Bhumi Puja means worshipping the earth goddess to seek her blessings. Before plowing the field for agricultural operation, worship is offered to Mother Earth. All these kinds of venerations, which is also done in a place like in Amritsar in the temple of goddess Bhadrakali, they venerate the natural element of air, that is Vayu. Also, there is a temple at Modhera in Gujarat which worships a sanctum sanctorium of the Akash, that is space. Also, there is the upper or Jal element worshipped in Ganga Aarti, like in Varanasi and Prayag. While we discuss all these concepts, it is very important to understand, as everybody might have a question, that what is the necessity of these kind of worshippings or practices. When we talk about ecological preservation, it is very important that a thing cannot happen in a way that it will trickle down from the central positions of power. Community initiative, performance and practice and preaching by every person practicing it in their local levels is very important. If we are unable to populate the population, it is quite impossible to sustain any kind of initiatives which we take to preserve the nature. I would like to quote from Eleanor Ostrom, who was an American political economist. She stated, there is no one size fits all approach to governing commons. Rules should be proposed and decided on by local people and have a deep rootedness in local ecological needs. We also have an act by the Indian government, which is the Biological Diversity Act, that states the Biological Diversity Act 2002 was born out of India's attempt to realize the objectives enshrined in the United Nations Conventions on Biological Diversity 1992. It aims at the conservation of biological resources, managing its sustainable use, and enabling fair and equitable sharing benefits arising out of the use and knowledge of biological resources with the local communities. Organic farming in ancient India was a prevalent and sustainable agricultural practice that laid the foundation for modern organic farming concepts. Ancient Indian farmers followed natural and eco friendly methods to cultivate crops without relying on synthetic chemicals or artificial inputs. Some key aspects of organic farming in ancient India include organic manure, crop rotation, and mixed cropping, biological pest control, conservation of indigenous seeds, rainwater harvesting, and Ayurvedic farming. In this context, I would like to take the attention of everybody towards the wetland rice cultivation of the Apatani tribe of Arunachal Pradesh. One of the major ethnic groups of the eastern Himalayas, the Apatanis, have a unique way of using the cultivable land with natural resource management and conservation that has been passed down through generations. They have developed the skill of rice fish cultivation, where rice is harvested along with the rearing of fish, which ensures higher level of biodiversity. Like the traditional method of rainwater harvesting, which is practiced in the northeastern states of India. Like in Meghalaya, bamboo pipes are used to divert perennial springs on the hilltops to flow to the lower areas. The system is used by tribal farmers to drip irrigate their fields. People in Mizoram and Nagaland use an indigenous system of rainwater conservation, which in their language is known as Zabo or Rusa system, where the water is collected and stored in catchments along mountain slopes for irrigation and other purposes. We are also very well acquainted with the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Rani Ki Bhav. It is an illustrious example of the step wells which were constructed in the western and northwestern parts of India to cater to the water scarcity in those regions. They also doubled up as a resting place for weary travelers at night and for people to socialize. Food and culinary practices. Indian culinary practices with a focus on seasonal and locally sourced ingredients reflect a sustainable approach to food. Use of eco-friendly utensils ensure there is no wastage or any kind of garbage which would be created. Use of earthen vessels, banana leaves or sal leaves ensure that the food which is cooked is not only healthy but is also good for the environment. The Indian tradition of handloom and natural dyes in textiles is testament to the sustainable fashion practices. Fabrics like khadi symbolize a sustainable approach to clothing, focusing on local production and natural materials. The sacred and mundane places, dichotomy of an ecological ethic. A dichotomy Kinsley had referred that between the sacred and the mundane, which exist as two different spheres of belief. Land features, though they are sacred, yet the reverence seems to be very ritualistic without regard for the physical degradation of the natural, as we can see in the pollution caused of the Ganga River. Though it is the most revered river in whole of the Indian subcontinent, so exalted in the ancient text, but still we can see, even though people refer to it as elixir, but still people are very unaware of being careful to protect the environment and the pollution which it causes. The lessons derived from ancient Indian practices have direct relevance to the challenges faced by modern societies as nations strive to combat climate change, protect biodiversity, ensure food security, and create inclusive and equitable societies. Examining the sustainable practices of ancient India can offer innovative solutions and alternative perspectives. These insights can help policymakers, researchers, and communities in formulating strategies and adopting practices that promote sustainable development, which I will be discussing further in the paper which I will be presenting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Antariksha ji. Next up, we'll be having Oshanika ji's presentation if she's here. And ma'am, if
Yes,
you're
I'm
ready.
here.
All
Yes,
right,
yes,
ma'am. Please go.
sure. Let me just share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Oshnika Bhatt. I'm from, currently I'm working with Waste Warriors as senior associate. Um, so yesterday, Neeraj already talked about what Waste Warriors are working on, basically on the impact of waste on climate change and environment issues.
Majorly, we are working on these two states of Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh for tech, tackling issues regarding waste and climate actions for Indian Himalayan region. Yes. So this is my topic, rehabilitation plan for the Narmada Valley flood victims in case of Thar district. So I have tried to utilize the availability and access of GIS in my project and research. So this research was initially my thesis topic during my graduation period. And I feel really grateful to my institutes, like it was School of Planning and Architecture, Bhopal, whose faculty and my thesis mentor who guided me through. And I was fortunate enough to defend my concern topic in the Indian Town Planning Institute in Bhopal. That was MP Chhattisgarh chapter, and I bagged the best thesis award as well. So now I want to utilize this opportunity and was willing to take this serious issue forward to take this into the concerns of dedicated authorities and to contribute in providing sustainable form of solution based approach for the same. So, about it. So looking at the content, so I have gone through these different chapter kind of like headers. So to keep the whole research intact and adequately structured, these are the contents of the research, which basically includes introduction framework and so on. So each of the sections are important part of the study as and also helped me in paving the lane towards the next one. The most important of them all is the analysis part, because analyzing any issue always plays a crucial part to provide the right proposal. So here, as the study includes geographical and topographical features, because it is Narmada Basin thing, hence the use of GIS-based study is very crucial. In the next part, what happens is usually the dedicated teams in the system, the authority figures, does all the required charades and everything regarding analysis, data collection, everything, but they forget to stick to it for the proposal and everything. And usually, every out is mostly politically influenced. And so this is one attempt to take things in a right direction. And I'll just skip things that we much written. So the idea of migration, or to be specific, relocation as is basically can be seen as a sacrifice that has influenced the thinking of migration greatly. So it has trampled on like basically political immigration. That is what we can say is the fact that migration involves the loss of human rights to land and resources. This has also led to the idea of resettlement and also renewal as a reward for self-sacrifice, we can say, rather than a fundamental right to a actual right. So basically, when anyone resettles from one place to another because of natural disasters or like things like that, so at that time, mainly women also gets mostly affected, because males tends to get and tends to find new jobs for themselves and new circles, but women are usually having more of mental depression and those kind of things. Sense of belonging is also lost. So in case of resettlement, the migration that occurs as a result of natural disaster like such as floods, political conflicts, and the construction of dams. Here the like disaster of Sardar Sarovar Dam of Narmada River is taken. So as like I wanted to divide this research into three parts, that is affected area of the study, background study, and the cause and gap identification. Because if we identify these three things, then we will be able to provide more customized and concerned proposal to the affected area. So rehabilitation or resettlement occurs, as I mentioned already, natural disaster or such as flood or political conflicts. So this also affects soil erosion, and also the loss, because when flood happens, a lot of things from household like flows away, and that creates a lot of pollution in rivers as well. So according to so basically this is the affected area of the study. Um, So according to the available data, floods affect an average of like 3 million people every year and 1.2 million hectares of land annually. So flood risk management remains at the top of development agenda. And also coastal settlements located further upstream from high river levels due to the soil erosion and also gully erosion in generally. And the ravine are surrounded by flood waters and also loses contact with the surrounding region. Therefore, those areas generate the demand for their rehabilitation in safe flood-free areas, which are more non-prone to like gully erosion or things like that. Related to the account of rehabilitation of flood-affected settlements, it sheds light to the process of government rehabilitation and actual rehabilitation facilities provided. So affected area is the Narmada river basin over this study. So what actually happens is after the construction of this Sardar Sarovar Dam, um, whenever there is monsoon season, uh, uh, keeping this in a Zoom version, uh, there will be upstream flooding. This is the border of Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh. So basically, this dam is located in the Gujarat portion, but the upstream is towards Madhya Pradesh, and the downstream is towards Gujarat. So basically, whenever the um, dam gets like full or flooded, it mostly floods downstream first, and whenever it is like fully uh, uh, full at its capacity, the doors are open and the it floods over the upstream. So I have used that thing in this. Also, moving forward, so this is the gap identification which I understood. So this is also the need for the study. So research basically focuses on the vulnerable settlements on the banks of the Narmada River Valley. So as you can see in the pictures provided in the left, these are the actual photographs of the affected area, and there were many rides also going on. And those were for their demand for actual and quality kind of resettlement, which are provided in the rules and the everything provided by the government, police and everything, but they are not being implemented properly. So this is the whole thing. I would like to explain it more, but it would take time. So I'll mainly explain it in my paper. So basically, the capacity is the problem, and it is Sardar Sarovar Dam is the largest cement-based dam in India, and it was itself a disaster when it was planned and it was constructed, because keeping a dam with this much capacity is always a disaster, because whenever the capacity will get full and whenever the doors will open, so every time there will be flood. So basically, this was my framework. So basically, I have taken the aim to study and prepare a sustainable rehabilitation plan for Narmada Valley flood ousties. And for this, I have selected four objectives, and each objective had a scope designed for itself. So uh, first objective is to understand the recurring floods of Narmada River and its impact on the local people. And scope based on that particular objectives are also followed over here. Then the second objective is to identify villages of the Narmada Valley region affected by the flood, and the selection of the case study village area. That is also a very crucial part. Otherwise, if we will target the whole area, it won't be possible to give the right solution. We can take one model project, and then we can try to replicate and customize it accordingly. Then to incorporate various rehabilitation approaches and interventions towards the flood. So for this, I have also taken different as analysis things and everything, and also case studies of similar projects around the nation. And to last will be the to formulate sustainable strategies for successful rehabilitation for case study. So there are like two limitations in this project, because um, the study is only limited to a single village out of all the 35 affected areas, because to focus on the solution and issue, we have to focus on one thing. If we'll take everything together, it won't be possible, and taking things one at a time will give you more productive solution. That's why. And also, according to the policies, uh, the ousties with less than 25% of property loss are not considered for relocation and rehabilitation in the case study, because those are not provided, those are not given any solutions or like any schemes under any of the national level policies right now in our country. Any law related to that is not given. So that is one of the limitation. And also the data set which I collected was for GIS assessment is also stated over here. So this was methodology which helped me a lot to structure my study. And when I followed these things automatically lined up very smoothly. So the methodology of the research study here in the paper. So the study starts with the literature review of fundamentals of flood, R&R policy and methodology like constructing then institutional arrangements for R&R and Narmada Valley Development Authority also, and for the same policies and framework as well. So, talk about policies and they are discussing the provisions of NWDT. So, this is one authority of Narmada Valley itself that works in Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and Maharashtra, the all three states which the basin covers. So, the award tribunal is mainly for the Sardar Sarovar Dam project affected area itself, because it is always creating disasters. So this Narmada NWDT award tribunal is there for affected area, but they are not working at their right potential which they have. So it also includes the state policies and interventions provided by the state of Madhya Pradesh, because mainly the most part of the basin is in Madhya Pradesh, 80% of it. The literature study also includes the approach and rehabilitation towards a sustainable resettlement. And after this, various global and Indian case studies were also collected and were analyzed, and key takeaways were taken. So after the interpretation and analysis data frame, the finalization of considerable parameters is gained. So this is when needed by the formulation and of recommendations and strategies, and proposing a conceptual layout for the same. So getting to this our literature review. So this section discusses the various institutional arrangements, policies, acts, methodologies, and frameworks approached and adopted by different jurisdictions of Narmada River Valley basins. So basically, first one is Land Acquisition Act. So that is discussed over here. Then R&R policy of Government of Madhya Pradesh for ousties of Narmada project. And then there is the Narmada Water Dispute Tribunal Award, that is also discussed over here. And finally, this. So these were the main policies from which I have taken all my literature review and what should be there, because in India, every rule and comparison with other countries. But the only thing and adequately enough. So referring these policies always help if you want to systematically propose anything. So these were the reference case studies I was previously talking about. So one of them is Brahmaputra River. That was similar thing happened over there. Then Mahanadi River, Hirakud Dam, Odisha. Then Narmada River, Indrasagar Dam. That is very nearby to the location. That is in Omkareshwar. That is nearby Indore. And then Narmada River of Navharsud River. So in this Navharsud case, they what they did is they totally restored and relocated the whole Harsud village and established a new Navharsud kind of place. But one thing that they did wrong was it was very unsystematical and a non-sustainable approach to find the adequate land for the settlement. So I will be talking about that also, that how to attain for the right thing. So this is the whole river basin. I generated this map using uh, DEM and Landsat imageries. So uh, this is the whole basin. So talking about it, this is the Sardar Sarovar Dam. Several so basically, I have focused on the. I don't know if it is visible or not. This area, I tried to highlight it over here. So this is in Dhar district, located in southwest part of Madhya Pradesh, and is basically a part of Indore division. The total geographical area of Dhar is around like 8,000 something square kilometer. Thus, it is one of the largest district of Madhya Pradesh, and it is very crucial with tribal settlement and every like uh, indigenous part of Madhya Pradesh lives over this southwest part only. And those are getting very much affected. And in the whole of Madhya Pradesh, other region is left where tribal are also getting very much affected, very much a lot of concern to be given, because those are also playing indirect effect on the blockage of water and everything in the Sardar Sarovar Dam. But among these all, Sardar Sarovar Dam is the biggest one. And then these are the Narmada Hydroelectricity Development Corp. So this why I have tried to like locate these in the map, because these illustrates that having a balance with the dam is also crucial. We cannot say that dam ko pura tod do or like have it demolished, because it is literally solving its purpose by providing different hydroelectricity development corporation, but having a bad planning is uh, giving it failing it all. And then so basically I'll try to raise the concern over here. So this is Madhya Pradesh. This is Madhya Pradesh, and between then surrounding it on the north side there is Vindhyachal range, and with south side there is Satpura range. So when the rain comes, so it flows the water inside in between in the basin, and it plays like a funnel kind of thing for the whole basin area. So it becomes more complicated for this particular basin to have cases of flash flooding as well, plus the capacity disaster of Sardar Sarovar Dam. So this is very much a sensitive area. And so this is the whole area which I was talking about. So basically this needs, the accumulates, water accumulates like this, and then this needs some sort of work on it. So this is the stream ordering map which I generated using this hydrology study that is called. So this is a style map which basically helps in finding the streams order. So which is the main stream, then that is the second stream, then that is the first next stream, which is connecting, like we can call it tributaries, but tributaries are the actual rivers which are connecting to the main river. But these are the streams which are contributing in the main river. So for years, so giving the background why I've generated this map, for years, flood management studies have been expensive and unpredictable, and because of going on ground and having big machine on gypsies and everything. So and that is very expensive and unpredictable, and many analyses have been done manually using paper maps and everything. But today, new technologies such as GIS, GPS, and remote sensing also helps. Flood controllers create accurate and current flood maps with efficiency and speed at low cost. So, accurate mapping of flood areas is key to better flood management. So, accurate and current maps of the plateau of present floodplain can be very useful tool to avoid major social and economical losses in flood situations. Also, maps of well-developed locations offer improved public safety as well. Early identification of flood prone, sorry, areas allows for public safety organizations to establish warning and evacuation priorities as well, because it provides a lot of previous information which can help you mitigate flood as well. So armed with clear information, government agencies can initiate disaster preparedness and responses efforts. So GIS is well suited for a variety of flood management activities, um, such as ground mapping, geographical planning, and post-disaster verification of wetlands as well, and deepest flood areas also. So the GIS compliance process has been used to efforts and identifying conflicting issues and uses in the river and area to develop stakeholder to technical. That's okay. So plain modeling involves two aspects, that is hydrology and hydraulics. Sorry. So hydrology analysis determines the high flow rates and hydraulic analysis determines the surface water level. So hydrologic models such as there are like examples such as HEC, HMS. Those are like Landsat imageries of satellites that are being used to mimic the storm water flow. So this calculation is based on the physical characteristics of drainage area that can be measured from GIS database. So the thing is, if we are using GIS database, almost every difficult things gets and becomes so much easy, and everything that is assumed to be like impossible, those are done within 2 days of time frame if we are using and utilizing the GIS platform properly. So the stellar map in the previous slide is generated by hydrology study process for the selection of suitable study area. So how this is done here is that for the analysis of a stellar stream ordering map, a stepwise process was done, under which firstly this was the DEM image, which I downloaded from the Landsat website, which I have subscription from my college times. So was converted to the fill raster thing in the GIS. Then the obtained layer is then processed to generate the flow direction raster. Then with the flow direction raster, flow accumulation raster, this is like a step-by-step process. So every first map is helping us to make or made the other step map. So the third one was flood accumulation raster. Then the raster calculation was uh, done. So the raster calculation process is then carried on the obtained flow accumulation raster. Finally, after the raster calculation, stream ordering map is gained. From this stream ordering, the raster calculation files helps us to formulate this stellar map, which I showed in the previous slide. And this is the version of the selected case study area, because as you can also see in this map, it is very much red. So stellar value on here. Pointer. So over here, the legend also shows that which are the high level areas, which are the low level areas and which have more accumulation of water and everything that could be seen over here. And this is the zoom version of this thing, and with colors and everything to understand it. Yes. So this is the selected case study area. So construction of the dam began in almost 1987, but the project was stopped by Supreme Court of India in 1995 after Narmada Bachao Andolan due to the concerns about human migrations, as I mentioned earlier. But in 2000 and 2001, the project was revived, but with a minimum height of 110.64 meter. But under the direction of Supreme Court, which was later expanded in 2006, so it became to 121 meter, and also in 2017 it went more above to 138.9. So basically what happens whenever the downstream flooding happens, so they opens the downstream flooding happens from this place to this place, they opens the gate and it starts getting flooded upstream. So whenever the capacity goes up to 121.92 meters, it floods over till this much area. And whenever it gets flooded to capacity goes up till 138.98, then it floods to up till this area. And as we can see, this area has mostly the main villages which have a population more than 1,500 people. So this area have most of those kind of villages. And I have selected this village, that is Khapar Kheda, because this is so on the river bank itself. So in the next slides, we will be discussing those things as well. So moving forward. Yes, this is the research design and data collection that I have taken. So I have used the platform of Google over here. Earlier at that time, there were uh, uh, the timeline allowed for previous years also, but after 2014, it has blocked for now. Earlier images from before 2014, we cannot see or access to them. But I have 2019 and 2021 wet and dry seasons data over here. So basically, this is the dry season image. Whenever it is dry season, the river looks like this. And here is the Khapar Kheda village. And usually the resettled people, after this kind of image, the people gets resettled over here like this. These are the satellite images from Google Earth. I've visited those areas as well. So it happens like this. But what is happening right now? The flood is going up till this Kadmal village as well. So earlier it was up till here only, but now the disaster is happening up till Kadmal village area also. So as I mentioned in this slide, as we can go back over here. Let's switch back to the arrow. Yes. So in this photo also, you can, oh, these are the resettled batches. Those are given to them as well. And as you can see in the, so these are not at all hygienic, livable, or any like good kind of situation, right? So after that, for providing the proposal, after analyzing analyzing the background and selection of the study area and everything, and after understanding whole problem of the study area as well, what is going on right now. So this is the overlay analytical hierarchy process to generate flood hazard map. Sorry. So we need relevant data set to prepare flood hazard map. the main task is to combine the data sets to find out where the potential location of the flood is, and to combine the data sets, they must be on a common scale. The scale would be like 1 to 5. It is like like that would be technical. So to complete the particular task, we need to reclassify all the thematic layers. And in this practical, we will be like putting scale value from 1 to 5, that is over here. And then here the classified value infers a low probability of flood, and however the high value infers high probability. So data set is over here. So after this, these are the areas which I've identified after the overlaying process. The arrow key is not working. So these were the earlier in the previous analysis part, those were the map made by in the stepwise process. So first map was there was this DEM map which I downloaded. Then after that I did some calculation and commands. Then the second map came. Then the second map came with the help of first map. But these are in this case in the overlay process. Individual maps were generated and then they were overlaid on one another. So first was this DEM model. Then the second one was river distance. It also signifies that underground water level capacity as well of the nearby river. And then rainfall precipitation map was also a crucial part of it. And then slope map in degrees of the slopes and everything. And then the fifth layer was of flow length, that how much length is there and everything. That came from the hydrology study that was used in the previous part also. And then finally, after overlaying all these 5 layers, this flood hazard map was obtained. So what I have tried to do over here is I have also tried to use stream ordering map with it. Combine the stream ordering map with it, and also the Dhar district's village boundary map. So this will help us to know that exactly which village will be more crucial and like nearby and everything according to the near location site. So these are this determines regional seasonal river stream, generates opportunity to conserve seasonal stream, proximity to natural water resources. According to the collected socioeconomic survey data, I have tried to do this. So this represents the topographical representation of flood risk area. So basically, this was our affected area, and then this was our new affected area where they were being resettled. So this was Khaparkheda and then Kadmal. So after seeing the legend and everything, these two sections seems to be more accountable in terms of rehabilitating or resettling those. So these are the 8 villages, those comes under this area. So according to the analysis and everything, comparison and every structure, finally, the village Pura with involuntary land acquisition acreage availability as well, and comparing it to the demanded one, this was selected. So then version of Pura land and illustrations over here. Sorry, illustrations over here.
Oshanika ji, it's a lovely presentation, but I'll have to interrupt you. So if you could
Shows
quickly just sum
the
up.
in terms of government lands, private lands plots. Yes, this is the last slide. Private land plots and the plot area of the mix of private and government lands as described in the given legend in the figure. So a conceptual layout can be like portrayed in the available land in which the agriculture activities along with the respective residencies can be laid in the available government and mixed plot lands. The planning specific recommendation of the required infrastructure can be then proposed in the available plots adjacent to the current Abadi village area of Pura. The conceptual layout of the land for like rehabilitation resettlement is also illustrated in the figure, uh, where 1 and 2, um, this 1 and 2 uh, are the conceptual illustration for the recommended area for the agricultural residencies. And 3 over here is the conceptual illustration for the recommended planning specifications of the required infrastructure. So the basis of the conceptual layout is the agricultural development on the available data acquisition, available land acquisition area. Sorry, because the relocated population with the working class of 83%, almost 83%, is of farming this graph. So, and the remaining is of other categories. So, the employment opportunities and the relevant recommendations are made for the proposal accordingly only over here. So, concluding it all, the recommendation in recommended indigenous settlements area for RNR project is identified as village of Pura. It's located adjacent northeast to the current relocated outstays, relief, sorry, relief camp base in the village of Kadmal. The selection of the indigenous settlement area was based on several criteria, including considerable points based in the interest of the targeted oustees. Oustees are basically the flood affected people who have lost their like place. So the site selection process was majorly based on GIS-based technique of the hydrology suitability study and the AHP, that is overlaying process, in which several required layers of different categories of maps were overlaid in ArcGIS. So this was done to generate the flood disaster study that utilizing the right platform can save your time, energy, and can be more efficient towards providing you with the right sustainable solution. Thank you, sir. So these were the references. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Oshanika ji. That is a very comprehensive presentation, very technical as well. Next up, if in the participants, do we have anybody who is left to present? If not, then we have a few other presentations that were submitted to us. However, the participants of those presentations are not currently present here. So we'd like Astava, can we have the first presentation up? So we'll just quickly view the presentation that they made. This is by Devkanta Roy ji, Guardians of the Forest, Tribal Women and the Future of NTFPs and Amid Climate Change. Theme NTFP and Climate Change. Next slide, please. Next slide.
Yeah, Asta, keep on shuffling.
Next presentation, please. This is marginalization. Can we go back to the previous slides? I could just read out the topic. Marginalization of informal workers in the current climate policies, need for inclusive strategies by Dushrama Pandya. Yeah, please go ahead now. All right. Thank you, Astaba. That's it for all of the presentations that were presented by the participants themselves and the ones that were submitted to us. With that, I would now like to invite Bhargavi ma'am, so we can start with our feedback session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Priyanka. Among the participants here, did you all have any questions about the other presentations? Any thoughts? We could just spend a couple of minutes with your questions and thoughts, and then I could wrap up with my comments and suggestions. No comments, no.
Or if any fellows would like to add anything other than
Yeah.
the presentation they give, they can add now. We have time now.
Okay. Oh, is there something? Okay. Looks like there are no thoughts right now, but I'm sure we've been filled with such rich information, such lovely presentations, that it's a lot of food for thought for the weekend and also for completing all your papers. First of all, like I said yesterday, congratulations. It's an excellent set of presentations. The slides were all very skillfully done. They were very interesting and visually very appealing. All the slides made by each and every one of you. A few were a little text heavy. So maybe those of you who have a lot of text could consider reducing the text a little bit. Always having pictures of the places you work or the issues you are talking about will hold the audience's attention. So try and reduce the text. I think each and every one of you have a very strong knowledge of the topics that you all have chosen. That really shows that you put your heart and mind and immersed yourselves in each of these topics. And also every one of the presentations were interdisciplinary. I could see the science of things, the anthropology aspects, and many of you even covered the financial aspects and the governance aspects, and many of them also had some human interest points, which are very key in today's world, because we cannot no longer work in silos. We have to work across disciplines and try and find holistic solutions. So in that context, you all excelled really well. Going to the individual presentations, first of all, Ketan, I think that was a great topic and a lovely presentation on agriculture in the context of sowing in uncertainty. The title of the topic itself caught my attention, because given the impacts of climate change and given the nature of crops that Indian farmers have been growing, I think that spoke a lot, because Again, given that I come from South India, I see a lot of paddy farmers waiting with their nursery beds, but then the rain doesn't come and they can't do the transplantation. So, and the role of water and many other aspects of equity and governance aspects also that you touched upon were very interesting, and overall lovely presentation. I would look forward to reading your full-fledged paper. Tanisha, yes, a very important topic in the context of fast fashion, and also for each of the topics, I would also like to briefly touch upon the principles of environmental jurisprudence. I think in the context of the first presentation, Ketan's presentation, the principle of intergenerational equity was something that struck me so much, because given the uncertainty of farming in the country, what is going to happen to the children of the farming families? What does their future look like? What does the future of food security look like? These were questions that certainly kind of came to my mind. And Tanisha, yes, the fast fashion, a very interesting topic, and this is like catching up everywhere. And I even gave you the suggestion of reading some of Subir Ghosh's articles. He's been writing extensively on fashion, fast fashion particularly. And in this context, you very well touched upon all the handloom sector, the handmade kind of fabrics, and the challenges that we are currently facing in the country. And here I think the principle of sustainable development stood out very clearly, along with a whole lot of other principles. Because if we are to address climate change, if we are to really keep up our promises that we make at the international level, it is not just transitioning to renewable energy, but we also have to make sure that these livelihoods, which are not energy dependent, survive, right? So on one hand, we do know that all the synthetics are energy guzzlers, water guzzlers, and they also cause a whole lot of pollution downstream. But at the same time, unfortunately, across the country, all the handmade fabrics are dying a slow death. State after state, weavers are protesting, weavers are demanding. There are very little budgets across state budgets to ensure weaving survives. And this is an area that requires a lot more writing, a lot more focus, and I think your paper will definitely help bring focus to that. So it's a great topic, and I think you did a great job. Nischint, you spoke about river rights, and that again is something you did extremely well, talking about the Supreme Court and the Uttarakhand court directions and what is happening world over with respect to all of these ecocentric movement that is slowly emerging. And it is again something, a lot of food for thought for all of us, because it's not just the rivers, it's also the mountains, the grasslands, all the wildlife. Oshanika, you may want to mute. I think it brought focus to all of that. And I think moving forward, it will, that is the way to go, because we've reached a stage where we've exploited all the rivers, we've destroyed all the possible habitats, and if the earth has to survive, I think it is only from an ecocentric perspective that there is some hope. And more recently, we've all been reading, I'm sure, about how nation-state borders should probably become bioregional borders, where local communities are taking care of each of these ecosystems. So I think you did a great job drawing attention to the river rights. Then moving on, it was Dipanita who spoke about the commons, pastoralist, the life of the pastoralist, and the challenges out there. Yeah, this is something that definitely comes under the public trust doctrine. All the commons, it is whether it is rivers, grasslands, forests, lakes, all of this belongs to the people of the country. The government is only a custodian of all of these commons. But unfortunately, over a period of time, we all get to believe that all the commons belong to the government. But if you really break down this public trust doctrine, it belongs to the people, and the government is only a custodian of all these commons. So how do you ensure people who depend on the commons for their lives and livelihoods have access to this? That remains a big challenge today, and the way commons are being diverted is another huge challenge across the country. The commons are being diverted to a variety of projects, be it the special economic zones, where you have huge industrial belts, then you have airports coming along. You have a variety of projects, townships, all of this are coming up. New cities are being built on, such common property resources. So that needs to be addressed, and a lot more. And you did mention about, I'm very sorry, I have to. Very sorry. Yeah, so you did mention that there are no international level agreements, laws, policies, which is very true. So, see, in case of all other ecosystems, take wetlands for instance, we have international agreements, and as a result, you come home and make your own laws to protect these habitats. But unfortunately, for grasslands and a large section of other commons, we don't have such international agreements. As a result, commons are continuously under threat, and it's the lives and livelihoods that depend on it. Again, in the context of climate change, it is these livelihoods that are not dependent on the grid. They are no way connected to the grid, emitting more carbon. All of that is like almost zero, but we seem to be displacing and dispossessing these very communities. So thank you so much for drawing attention to this, and I think your presentation was excellent, very comprehensive, addressing all of these issues, and we'll look forward to your paper. And it is like the need of the hour, because more people need to understand the importance of commons. Then moving on, Abhay Menon, you addressed the issues of sand mining and waste. And yes, sand mining is very rampant across rivers, oceans, and also lakes and ponds. And you did a good job of addressing the entire challenge and how it is happening and what measures need to be taken. And that definitely speaks to me about this whole intergenerational equity again and again from an ecocentric point of view, given that there are so many fishes who go back to the place where they are born to lay their own eggs. And if you have to think of the rights from their perspective, this sand mining is such a criminal activity. And it also highlighted the kind of construction that is happening. We are building our cities and towns with absolutely no regard to these natural materials. We are under the impression, there's infinite amount of these natural resources and we can go on mining. Every time a new building comes up, or even urban infrastructure projects, road building and laying of the metro and a whole lot of others, the kind of construction today, sand mining will definitely go on in illegal ways. Thanks for highlighting that and drawing attention to it. Your final assignment will be something that will definitely be an eye-opener to many. Thank you. Then the next one was Megha Mahajan, who spoke about the global practices and the challenges, and particularly from India, and how a ground-up plan is required, and how a local plan is required. Yes, while we look at all the global practices, at the end of the day, it is solving local problems and local participation of the local people, because local people know how to take care of themselves given their own agroecological landscapes. So I thought it did bring attention to the need for such ground up planning, while we also look at what the other countries are doing. And sometimes there are solutions in our own backyards which need to be highlighted and probably replicated, wherever possible. So thank you for drawing attention to that. Then Anushan Roy, you spoke about the twin cyclones of Sundarbans and the challenges out there. And I think it was again a very comprehensive presentation of what's happening to the Sundarbans and how such natural calamities can disturb the beautiful symbiotic relationship of humans with the natural ecosystem and vice versa there. At that time, I was reminded of the Bon Bibi practice, which today's presentation did have a mention of it. The Bon Bibi practice, where the virtues of forest conservation is kind of highlighted, and it kind of helps safeguard the natural areas in Sundarbans. I think you could consider incorporating that into your paper. Altogether, a great job. Then Maria's Sajan from the Kuttanad experience. I think that was again a great experience listening to you. It was visually very interesting, that caught everybody's attention with all those beautiful pictures from the landscape of your backyard and the challenges, the ecological challenges of that place. And given that you're a lawyer, you did mention the ecocentric laws and the kind of action that needs to be taken. It did remind me of a citizen science participation program that's happening in some parts of the Nilgiris, and how that will probably help, given that you're already working with local communities and have initiated so much participation from all of them. So I think that was a great presentation again, and it was very immersive. Then moving on, Neeraj covered extensively on waste management and the challenges of waste management. That was again a great presentation. And it was also very thought-provoking with the many questions he asked, and with respect to plastic, and what the rules say, and what the practice looks like, and what the challenges are ahead of us. And with the current international attention to plastic, where are we headed? How much more action is needed to really, stop certain kinds of plastic, was truly very interesting. And that again spoke about, many areas of the environmental principles of jurisprudence. One is intergenerational equity, then the polluter pays principle, principle of sustainable development, the precautionary principle. All of that came to my mind, and thank you so much for highlighting all that, and I will definitely look forward to reading your final paper. Then I think today's presentation, starting with Shrabani, with the green energy initiatives and the RE policies. Yes, this is a very interesting emerging field where we are all talking about renewable energy, and we are caught in a space where the global north is pushing a certain kind of an agenda. And last evening's presentation from Professor Jyoti Parekh, you did see that, our per capita consumption is still way below. And but yes, we need to shift to renewables, but at what cost are we shifting to renewables is a question we need to ask, and how we are going to shift to renewables is a question we need to ask. And whether they are creating green jobs, I am not sure, because I have worked extensively in Pavagada, and I have repeatedly mentioned that how 13,000 acres of land today just has about 2,000 jobs on paper, whereas every acre in India will probably support 4 or 5 jobs in the agriculture pastoralist context, right? So it is something that needs a lot more study, a lot more understanding. And the RE policies today are a little problematic, because they seem to be guiding the land policies of the country. In a country where land is not in abundance, and land is being used by agriculture, which still contributes a significant portion of our GDP, and we need it for food security, right? Food security and nutritional security. In that context, state after state is coming out with RE policies which are influencing the land policies, and it is creating a little bit of a tension, because when civil society across the country came together and made sure the Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act of the old one, the 1894 one, went through so many amendments to make sure that people parting with the land will get fair compensation, good rehabilitation, good resettlement, so that they will also be able to move on in life. It was a humongous effort by civil society, and this law was amended once in 2010, then 2013 and 2015. But with all the best provisions in that act today, none of the states have incorporated that into their own state level land laws, which is a very sad thing. And instead, what is happening is the RE policies seem to be determining the land policies of every state, and state after state is acquiring land, not using the provisions of the Land Acquisition Act, but they are coming out with newer and dubious ways of acquiring land, which is leaving large sections of our agro-pastoral communities without access to livelihood, without access to any other possibility of moving on in life. So we need to pay a little attention to that, because these are people who have no other skill as well. And skill building in the country is way behind for a section of the population. Those of us who are in towns and cities, yes, it was fascinating to see the kind of technology each of you have been using. And we all have access to a variety of these skill training. You can do it online, offline, attend classes in and around your neighborhoods, colleges, institutions, right? But if you see what is happening in our rural areas, skill building is still a distant dream. There's very little happening. So in the context of RE and all the green energy initiatives, there is a huge gap. And something else we need to remember when we are talking about RE is that the panchayats are kept out completely. Non-conventional energy is a function of the panchayat. Under the 73rd, 74th Amendment, the 11th and the 12th schedules, should be like our Bible. So you know what you can hold the local government accountable to. So in that context, all RE projects should be at the level of the panchayats. The panchayats can decide what kind of land they want to part with, where do they want to have these RE projects, how can they balance agriculture, pastoralism, and energy security. So at the end of the day, we have to ensure there is food security, there is water security, and also energy security, right? So it has to be a function of the panchayat. So I would, it'll be good if you can also look at your presentation from this point of view and probably incorporate these thoughts in your final presentation. Then moving on to Antariksha, local cultural practices, sacred groves. Yes, that was another excellent topic that you have chosen, because sacred groves was such a wonderful way to protect forests and forest dependent communities. They took care of these sacred groves over the years in such a beautiful way that they would never collect forest produce from one particular patch. And they made sure that these patches had all the rich biodiversity that would remain for generations to come. And how they worship these spaces, and every state, every small region has its own unique practices. You did mention a whole lot of them. Yes, while we have such a rich history, unfortunately, with all that history and knowledge of these things, somehow we don't seem to have used it effectively and efficiently in protecting our forests or rivers or any of the natural resources. We've exploited that beyond imagination. So the use of traditional knowledge in moving forward in protecting these last remaining patches of our natural resources is very important. And a judicious use of these resources is what is important, is what I would like to say. Then moving on, it was Oceanica, the rehabilitation of people in the context of that was the Narmada, right? Yeah. Right. So yes, dam building has been a nightmare world over. Big dam building came to a close, but we still haven't kind of completely said no to big dams. And we've also put a whole lot of this run of the river schemes. from your slides were very interesting, very rich, so informative, and I think each slide we could have discussed for an hour or so. They were so rich in information, and one or two slides caught my attention, particularly the one with all those red bars all over, that just showed how much of dam building we've done on one single river and its tributaries, right? So that itself needs to be a question, and rehabilitation has been a mess across the country, not just in Narmada. And I just shared about the LAR Act that of course came much later in the context of Narmada, but even now rehabilitation remains to be very poor. The only rehabilitation resettlement that I have seen has been in the context of the Bajpayee Airport in Mangalore, where that is probably the only rehabilitation where I have seen something which has not been bad, because every family that lost its property was given a fair compensation. They were given plots to rebuild their homes. There was assistance to ensure that every house was rebuilt properly, and there was also space to ensure that they continued their traditional livelihoods, be it weaving, be it the pastoral activity, so on and so forth. But again, when it came to the Bangalore airport, which I have studied, it has been very sad. So I think the use of GIS and such technical information will definitely be a big support for this entire resettlement rehabilitation programs in the country. It will also help in a totally different way, because most of the time people can get hoodwinked saying that you don't fall in this zone or you don't fall under that zone. But here you have scientific information, like it's evidence there saying you cannot cheat me types. So I think that was a great presentation, and it'll be good if it can be translated to local languages, make all the local people understand it, so that, and a lot of local people trained in these, so that each of them can hold all the decision makers accountable. So that was a great presentation. Thank you so much. Then Devkanta spoke about guardians of nature, NTFP. Yes, that's another very important presentation topic. Given that our forests are dwindling, and with climate change, there are so many impacts that the forest produce itself has not been the same. In many areas, they've had to abandon it and do a whole lot of other things. And in some places, while the activities continue and how it supplements their other agro-pastoral livelihoods, there is also the challenges of all these brokers who cheat them when it comes to NTFP, and they still face challenges of marketing and things like that. So it will be good if you can also incorporate those aspects, the challenges that the women particularly face when it comes to NTFP. That will be good. And thank you for that. It'll be interesting to read your final paper too. Then Drishma Pandya, you spoke about the migration and the informal workforce. Yes, that's another very important topic in today's context, because we've been talking about so many projects, and everywhere, like I said, people are getting displaced and dispossessed, and we did hear this from many of our other speakers as well. So the youth migrate out, they have no skills, they come into these cities and towns, they get into the informal workforce where there are no labor laws, no proper working conditions, they are exploited beyond imagination. There's also human rights violation when it comes to the informal workers. There is very little they can actually send home to their families. and they live a life of, just managing to survive types, and these are areas where there is no security when it comes to health or accident or life itself. So I think your assignment will draw attention to this and help push a lot more people to think about the unfair practices that exist. And if there's a lot more pressure, and I'm sure that most of these gig economies will slowly be pushed into incorporating some safety measures in place, some fair labor laws in place, and making sure these people can also work with dignity at the end of it. Yeah, so thank you so much, and I think all of you did a great job, and congratulations once again, and sorry if I exceeded my time limit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That is a very detailed feedback on every presentation. And for the participants, the floor is open. If you want to discuss something, ma'am is here, even with regards to your final research essays as well. Any kind of conversation you want to conduct will be done today. Just raise your hand and we can go ahead with the discussion then. All right. Since we don't have, I think, anything to discuss right now, I would, ma'am, I would like to just go through with the research essay guidelines a little bit for the final submission. Yes. So let me just share the screen. Okay. So the final submission for your respective research essays, the date is 11th of July. We request everybody to kindly submit within the said time frame. If due to some circumstances you need an extension, we request you to kindly write to us over email so we can then figure out how to go about it. I'll just be going through some basics of the basic guidelines for how your research essay is supposed to look like. First is the font style, the format. You'll be following the Times New Roman. The font size would be 11 and the text spacing would be around 1.15. With regards to the font style, that is the writing style, these are some of the guidelines that we have shared. For example, if you're confused between the British and American English, which might appear if you're using Grammarly or any other tool or software, opt for American. How to use the abbreviations, how they'll be written is also something that we've given here. For the dates, numerals, and italics, the format, how it should go about is mentioned. So in the guideline documents that is being shared with you continuously with the each day's videos. If you find some confusion, if you don't understand anything, it's all given here. So kindly refer to this document. Next is the references. For references, I request everybody to please follow the APA style of citation, the American Psychological Association. We've given how the references are supposed to look like, if you can see right here. With regards to references, other information related to the do's and don'ts are also listed out here. If you want, you can use the tools such as Mendeley, Zotero, or EndNote, or you can also do manual referencing from MS Word directly. That also works, but the citation style has to be APA, so please keep that in mind. Another thing is the layout of the research essay. The length should be around 3,000 to 4,000 words, which is excluding the references. Your essays should be engaging, specific, thoughtful, logically organized. Transition should be smooth, effective, and precise language. The essay should be strictly formatted to include an introduction and background to the topic, clearly underline the purpose or aim of the research essay. The main body highlights the investigation, study, or analysis, which will then be followed by review, findings, recommendations, and conclusions. Uh, we have shared some other tips that you can adhere to if you're finding some difficulties while writing your essays. Um, a compelling body paragraph clarifies, proves, and supports your thesis statement. So the some main elements of an effective paragraph are a topic sentence, an explanation of that topic sentence, an evidence, an explanation of the evidence, and a concluding sentence. So we have shared some tips for you how to write if in case you are stuck somewhere whilst you're writing. Another important component is the research ethics. So IMPRI strictly condemns any form of misconduct on the part of the fellows. And if caught, this will automatically lead to the cancellation of the fellowship. Therefore, please abide by research ethics and do not submit others' intellectual property labeled as your own. We've listed a bunch of do's and don'ts regarding that as well. I request you to please go through the document. We have some post-submission guidelines as well. We have split them into some broad categories, three to be precise. There are submissions and publications at IMPRI. One is the research essay PDF as per the standard template for professional record and use, like we have already stated. Then there's creating professional research profiles at ResearchGates and Academia profile, and you can upload the report PDF there. Upload your research report, connect with peers, scholars, and researchers, and increasing the visibility of your work within the academic community are some of the benefits of this. You can also write a blog article for IMPRI Insights. The length should be about 800 to 1000 words. It will just be about your key findings, a story, or your experience. Another is that of the publication outside IMPRI. So we've listed out a few journals like Economic and Political Weekly, state journals, and IMPRI's own Impact and Policy Research Review journal, where you can submit your report. Another, we have shared some important notes with regards to the publications and submissions here as well. You can publish as magazine articles, as an op-ed, or you can just submit it for paper presentations as well when the call for papers and other research-related networking opportunities come your way. Then what you can also submit to us if you want is a creative for social media. You can share some photos, videos, or some reels, shorts, anything that you would like to, and we'll have these creatives posted on IMPRI social media. So yeah, and then there are the reading resources for your references. So that is all for the submission guidelines. I request everybody to kindly submit by 11th of July. If it is not possible for whatever reason, submit to us, write to us over email at learning@impri@gmail.com. Rest of the guidelines are all given in the document, so you can refer to that. With regards to this now, does anybody want to discuss anything? Then you're free to. All right. If not, then, ma'am, we'll like to proceed with the closing remarks for the session.
Sure, sure.
Ma'am, do you have some closing remarks?
Oh,
Then I can.
Well, it has been a very interesting. Sorry?
Hi, if I could just ask one question. It
Sure.
has been bugging me for a long time. I am not a part of the cohort. I'm just like from IMPRI, but this question that someone like us who is very attached to environment, very concerned with it. I come from Mumbai. I see construction all over happening. I have seen. It's just like in a month, I've seen 7 buildings pop up in my vicinity. and it's difficult to not lose hope or feel, hopeless when things like this surround us all over. In my native place, I've seen Adani build a very huge project just near my village. And there were days when in the vacation we used to go and then sleep under the sky looking at so many stars, but we can no longer do that. How do we deal with that hopelessness and, to just keep going wherever we are going to go?
Yeah, so to me, the constitutional provision of Article 39 is something that always gives me hope. And of course, the 73rd, 74th Amendment, although it has not been implemented to its letter and spirit across the country, there is hope in that. So we unfortunately don't understand governance, and we don't understand decision making in the country. But people have the power if they are informed. So if only civics is taught properly at the school level, if only we understood this entire structure of governance and what our roles are as citizens and how we can actually hold people accountable, things would not have been this bad. But I think moving forward, given the pressures of climate change and the fact that I see so many youth around us being engaged, and also at the various government levels today, because of the kind of impacts people are going through, the fact that the decision makers at a city level have to deal with floods, have to deal with the bad traffic scenarios, have to deal with a whole lot of other challenges. They are open to working with civil society, with people who come with some kind of solutions. I see that in my own 30 years in this sector. I see that they are a lot more open today. So I think that gives me hope, and I think people like you should engage with your local communities and the local government, and help raise awareness, first of all, about, like I said, the 11th and the 12th schedules. The panchayat actually has the power to say no to big projects like the Adani projects. But it is because of various other factors that today such capitalists just get away with getting a simple NOC from the panchayat. But if people know, then the panchayat will be more accountable to the people. They will not give these kind of NOCs. We are currently looking at the airport project in Parandur, and it is very interesting to see how small villages have begun to stand up and say, this is our land, we are not going to give. And at the panchayat level, they are passing resolutions saying that we are not going to part with our land. I'm sure these kind of things have happened everywhere, but see, these are struggles that not just the affected community needs to fight. Everybody needs to be with them. People in the city, people in small towns, people in villages, everybody have to come together. They have to understand the signs of the problems, the social impacts of the problems, and also ask these questions of who's benefiting, who's losing. And if we are with the ones who are losing, then we are more powerful. And yes, it's big things start in very small ways. So I would say just go back to the drawing book there, understand at the local level, raise awareness at the local level, take one thing at a time, and yes, things will reverse. I am very hopeful. I hope
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, it does.
Okay. I think as closing remarks, it has been a wonderful journey the last few weeks. Listening to such a diverse variety of speakers speak on the environment. We covered the laws, we covered the international agreements, we covered the different landscapes and understood the challenges that are happening there. We understood the importance of indigenous knowledge, and the challenges that the indigenous tribes are facing, and the importance of traditional knowledge moving forward. We also heard the science of things in terms of graphs, numbers, and also much of the international level discussions were demystified in the context of climate change for us. So it has been a great learning journey, and I'm sure all of you agree with me that it has helped understand a little more. There's definitely so much more to learn, and given that these programs can only help open small little windows, but help you look beyond what the windows can see, that is the beauty of such short-term courses. That little exposure, is like a little pivot that kind of spins you into a totally different world, and you get some kind of a calling. The fact that each of you have chosen such interesting topics and have started work on it, I think I can see that, how this course has opened up many possibilities for further collaboration, networking, helping raise awareness in your own communities, and translating all of that knowledge into some kind of an action at the end of the day. I think it has been a wonderful program, and wonderful working with all of you. The IMPRI team has been extremely patient, extremely hardworking, because there's so much of work that has gone in the background of it all, which one can never see. Having coordinated a whole lot of programs myself, I know what it is on a daily basis to run behind speakers, get their confirmation, get their reading material, get their presentations, and send all of that to the participants, address questions from the participants. There is so much of coordination that happens behind the scenes, and I congratulate everyone here. Priyanka, Preksha, Astaba, Vaishali, Dr. Arjun, and all colleagues at IMPRI for putting together such a wonderful program. And I have enjoyed it myself, and I look forward to many more such programs. And I think, if every batch has, say, about 35-40 people who are getting exposure to this kind of a thing, and in a year, if many more are listening to this, it makes such a huge difference to our society. And also the beauty of these programs are people come from across the country, from the remote corners of the country, thanks to the technology that we are able to use in such a efficient and effective way to engage all of us and share our thoughts. So congratulations to everyone, and I really enjoyed. Looking forward to the final presentation, final papers, and the publication. Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for giving me the opportunity of chairing this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You've been very lovely to us. With that, I think I'll proceed with the formal vote of thanks. All right. So now we have come to the end of our fellowship program, the EPAYF, Environment Policy and Action Youth Fellowship, an online international summer school program, a 2-month online immersive introductory leadership certificate training fellowship program. I, Priyanka Negi, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, would like to propose the formal vote of thanks on behalf of IMPRI. We are grateful to our experts for all of our sessions and for taking out the valuable time, allowing us to learn from this certification program. We thank our chair, Ms. Bhargavi S. Raoji, for convening all of the sessions, for being patient, answering all of the questions. We thank all of our participants who raised pertinent questions, who have actively participated throughout this fellowship, submitted to us their abstracts, gave their presentations, for making this fellowship program an interactive one. We're grateful to you all. We're grateful if you are watching us later on YouTube or listening to us on our various podcasts or reading our publications. We hope you continue to join us to our future IMPRI endeavors, Web Policy Talk and Web Policy Learning. Wishing you a very good day, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.